Now, it was another tough day for Prince Harry yesterday. This is day 2 of his trip back here. He found out that he'd lost his court case against the Associated Newspapers Group, owners of the Daily Mail. Now, the legal action alleging phone hacking and illicit medical record access was brought alongside 6 other prominent figures, including Sir Elton John, Elizabeth Hurley and Baroness Lawrence. It's been reported that Harry was visibly angry and upset, and he later called the result a whitewash. Not really been his week so far, Janet. You know, a lot of front pages. Obviously, it was like, is he coming, isn't he coming? Is he staying in Buckingham Palace, isn't he? But this is a big thing for him, and he must be devastated, because this has been going on for a very long time.
Yeah, I do feel that the judgment was very, very unusual, because there wasn't just Prince Harry involved in this. As you've said, there were a lot of people with a lot of claims against Association newspapers. And so what I find extraordinary is that Mr Justice Nicklin decided to sling out the whole lot. I mean, that's almost unprecedented.
It was 97, I think, wasn't it? 97
yeah, it's
allegations.
It's
and
unprecedented. So all I would say is, you know, I think that we will see this continue, that if not with all the claims, I think the vast majority of them will go back into court, and they'll go back into the Court of Appeal with a different judge or judges presiding. They'll go to a higher court, and it won't be the end of it. And to the question, do I feel sorry for Prince Harry? Well, losing something like that so publicly is awful, but my advice would be just to move on and you know, work out what you are going to fight about in the future. Obviously, it's not easy. His wife and children are on holiday in Europe, and he's here alone, and he's got to do a lot of public engagements this week. But he is going to be the subject of a lot of press attention, whether he likes it or not.
Whether he likes it or not. But he has become the face of this, as we've said. There were other celebrities or people involved, you know, Sir Elton
Yeah, but
John.
he went into court and was there personally in court, drawing the press to it.
Yeah.
And I would say there's a lot of celebrities that would have been waiting for that verdict and also are kind of blindsided by it. I don't think it sits right with me as somebody that has been victim of a lot of intrusion throughout my career. And it's very hard to sit here and talk about that, because as somebody that uses the media and works in media, you know, it's like a double-edged sword. You know, it's all very well and good when you're selling a book or promoting a film or a TV show, and the minute you're going through a divorce or a breakup or something personal, you don't want to be written about. And unfortunately, I think the public sympathy is just not there, because it's like, well, you can't have your cake and eat it. But
there is an element of that, but there's a line that shouldn't be crossed,
I think so, and there are privacy laws, and I do think they are overstepped quite a lot by the media, and I do think they should be held accountable. And I wouldn't be surprised, like Janet says, if this isn't really kind of looked at now, and we all see it, you know, they all see themselves back in court, because I can't see how that they've come to that verdict. It just it's kind of blindsided people.
They must have had, you know, really high-brow, top-end barristers, lawyers, to go in and win nothing, like 97 allegations and like nothing.
Yeah.
Was very surprising to me.
And I think it does take a lot for people to get to the steps of court and to go through with that.
Very expensive action.
Yeah, and I think that you wouldn't do it unless you really felt like you were going to have some success.
Did you feel sorry for him, Brenda? Just
I've said on here before, I personally understand the trauma that he's going through, and even though, you know, I'm just going back to the child, the son, both him and Prince William, the trauma that they suffered, that they saw their mum going through on a daily basis, saw it, heard it, and, you know, I think that he's grown up into this young man. He's got his own family, and he wants to protect them as best as he can and protect himself. It is a bit, you know, I saw it as, oh, there's 7 other people, but they're literally just showing Prince Harry, Prince Harry. Stop showing Prince Harry, and then nobody will...
But he's the star, isn't he?
But he's the one that gets
the star.
He's the one that gets the least sympathy. I think that's why he's the headline. But what about all the other people?
So that's
their cases have got thrown out.
The machine is feeding into, oh, we're going to see it, so we're going to buy the paper. I
think there is an element of that, Janet, isn't it? Is that, like... It's hard when people say, oh, yes, you're the victim. And you go, you know, you've got lots of money, you've chosen this life, you've got this beautiful wife, 2 beautiful children.
You came back to Britain to fight your case in person.
Yeah.
yes, but you're living in California. I feel that he's living in California, and when your view of Britain, when you spend a lot of time in California, is somewhat rosy, it's not a true picture of what life is like here. And I kind of agree with Kelly, having been a newspaper editor and a journalist and written about a lot and had people going through my dustbins and stuff like that. It's a bit hard. It's a hard line to walk. And also, I kind of see the newspapers are a business, and the reason they're a business is that millions of people buy them and read them every day.
Exactly.
And that's the fact of the matter. And
exactly that. We all feed.
We all feed into the
it.
machine. If you're buying a tabloid, you're clicking on that.
And the thing is now, even if you're not buying an actual physical newspaper, it's online. So we're all feeding into it, aren't we?
Yeah, we're all guilty
in a way.
of it. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure, like you said, it won't be the last we've heard of it. It'll be interesting to see now.
It'll be back in court,
appeal.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
And I also think, sorry to interrupt you,
How rude.
but very quickly, I do think that investigative journalists now will be looking into this verdict.
Into the judge or just the verdict?
They'll be looking into the background to how the verdict was achieved and what the judge might have been thinking about when he made the verdict.
I mean, it was a 436-page written judgment.
Yes.
Big long one. OK, well, I said I'm sure we'll be talking about this again.
Squaddies, we need to talk about the moment daytime television did something nobody expected. It told the truth about the Daily Mail. Yesterday, Prince Harry lost. Not just Harry, 6 other people, including Sir Elton John, Elizabeth Hurley and Baroness Doreen Lawrence, all had their claims against associated newspapers thrown out. 97 allegations, 0 accepted, not 1. And before you assume this is another "the institution wins again" video, hold on. Because the people who reacted with the most shock, the most suspicion, and honestly the most integrity were not the Sussex squad. It was the panel of loose women. Yes, that loose women. And what they said on live television should be a 5-alarm fire for anyone who still trusts the British tabloid press. Let's get into it. So here's what happened. Harry, alongside Elton John, Elizabeth Hurley, Baroness Lawrence and others, took Associated Newspapers, the publisher behind the Daily Mail, to court. The allegations were serious. Phone hacking, unlawful access to private medical records, the kind of invasive criminal-adjacent behaviour that has plagued British public figures for decades. This wasn't a vague grudge. This was a coordinated, well-funded legal effort by multiple high-profile claimants. And the judge, Mr. Justice Nicklin, threw out every single claim. All 97 of them. Not some were weak, not a few didn't hold up. All of them. Gone. Now here's the part the tabloids want you to skip past. This doesn't mean the Mail was found innocent. It means the court ruled the evidence. After all these years, after documents were destroyed, after witnesses changed their stories, wasn't sufficient to prove it beyond the civil standard. That's a completely different thing from the Daily Mail did nothing wrong. The institution's mouthpieces want you to hear "case dismissed" and translate that in your head to "Harry lied." That is not what happened. That is spin. And it's exactly the kind of spin this channel exists to dismantle. Here's where it gets interesting. If you expected the Loose Women panel, a show that has, let's be honest, had its rota-friendly moments over the years, to pile on Harry like the rest of the tabloid ecosystem, you'd be wrong. Dead wrong. The panel was united in genuine confusion. One host pointed out that this wasn't just about Harry. There were multiple claimants, serious public figures, all represented by top legal teams, and every single one of them walked away with nothing. She called the ruling almost unprecedented. And she's right to. When was the last time a case with this many high-profile claimants, this much resourcing, this much evidence gathering, resulted in a complete wipeout? It doesn't happen. Not like this. Another panellist, someone who has personally lived through tabloid intrusion throughout her own career, admitted just how uncomfortable it was to sit there defending the media's track record. She acknowledged there's a line, and that line gets crossed constantly. Privacy laws exist for a reason, and the general sense on the panel was that those laws have been trampled for years with almost no accountability. One host went as far as to say she wouldn't be surprised if the public sees this case resurface, that legal teams that skilled don't walk into court expecting to lose 97 times out of 97, and that this smells like it's heading to the Court of Appeal in front of a different judge. Even panellists who tried to play devil's advocate, pointing out Harry's wealth, his life in California, his choice to come back and fight in person, still couldn't get past the core issue. The math doesn't add up. When every single claim from every single claimant gets dismissed, common sense says something is off, regardless of how you personally feel about Harry. Let's talk about what nobody in the mainstream coverage wants to say plainly. The Sun and the Mirror have already admitted to unlawful behaviour, phone hacking, blagging, the whole ugly playbook, and paid out settlements because of it. So the idea that their direct competitor, the Daily Mail, operating in the exact same tabloid ecosystem, chasing the exact same stories, using the exact same freelance networks, somehow never did any of it? That's not skepticism, squaddies. That's basic pattern recognition. And here's the detail that should be ringing alarm bells across the country. Emails were mass deleted. A key witness reportedly changed their evidence in a way that just so happened to support the Mail's defence. If that doesn't smell like a cover-up to you, I don't know what does. This is precisely why the balance of probabilities standard matters so much in civil court. It's not beyond reasonable doubt like a criminal trial. It's simply what's more likely than not. And even under that lower bar, the court still couldn't get there. Not because the behaviour didn't happen, but because the paper trail conveniently vanished. Convenient, isn't it? A tabloid empire built on exposing everyone else's secrets suddenly develops a case of very selective amnesia and missing paperwork the moment its own conduct is under the microscope. Let's zoom out for a second, because this is where the institution and its allies in the press always slip up. One host on the panel made an incredibly sharp observation, that Harry became the story, when in reality there were 7 claimants: Elton John, Elizabeth Hurley, Baroness Lawrence, a woman whose son was murdered in a racially motivated attack, whose family has fought for justice for decades. But who's on every front page? Harry. Why? Because outrage about Harry sells papers. Sympathy for Baroness Lawrence doesn't generate the same clicks, the same fury, the same "how dare he" comment sections. That's the machine, squaddies. That's the tabloid business model laid bare, right there on daytime TV, by the very industry that profits from it. One panellist, a former newspaper editor herself, admitted outright that newspapers are a business, and their business model depends on millions of people buying in, whether that's a physical paper or a click online. She said it herself. We're all feeding the machine. That's not deflection. That's an insider confirming exactly what this channel has said from day one. The UK tabloid press isn't reporting the news, it's manufacturing outrage for profit, and Harry is simply the most profitable target they have. So where does this go from here? Multiple voices on the panel suggested this almost certainly heads to the Court of Appeal, likely in front of a different judge or panel of judges. A 436-page written judgment doesn't just get quietly filed away. Investigative journalists are already expected to start digging into how Justice Nicklin reached this conclusion and what evidence, or lack of it, shaped his reasoning. And let's be real about what Harry is walking into this week. His wife and children are on holiday in Europe. He is back in the UK alone, facing a wall of press attention, public engagements, and now this very public legal setback. And he's doing it solo, in the country that has shown him, time and time again, exactly how it treats him compared to how it treats everyone else. Ask yourself this: if a British tabloid was found to have destroyed evidence and had a witness mysteriously flip their story in a case involving anyone else, a random citizen, a politician, a footballer, would the headlines call that a win for the paper? Or would they be asking loudly why a media company was allowed to delete emails relevant to a live legal case? We already know the answer. Because when it's Harry, the story is he lost. When it's literally anyone else being denied justice by a company that just so happens to control the printing presses telling the story, the coverage magically changes tone. This case isn't over, and neither is the fight for accountability in British tabloid media. What happened in that courtroom wasn't vindication for the Mail. It was a technical outcome shaped by missing evidence, convenient memory lapses, and a legal standard that still wasn't enough to save them from very real, very public suspicion. Suspicion voiced not by deranged Sussex squad members, but by loose women panellists live on ITV. That should tell you everything about how transparent this really is. If this video opened your eyes to what's really going on behind these headlines, you know what to do. Hit subscribe, ring that bell, and join the squad. We're the ones asking the questions the tabloid machine hopes you never will. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think this goes to the Court of Appeal? And more importantly, do you think the Mail actually gets away with it? Let's talk about it down below. Until next time, squaddies, stay sharp, stay skeptical, and never trust the rotor. See you in the next one.